it may not be destined, probably by very reason of the crudity and extravagance of many of its manifestations, to play a part almost as great in the evolution of the popular religion of the future as did those earlier movements in their day. Footnote: It remains to be seen whether the school of Mr. Dresser, which assumes more and more the form of mind-cure experience and academic philosophy mutually impregnating each other, will score the practical triumphs of the less critical and rational sects. End footnote. But I here fear that I may begin to jar upon the nerves of some of the members of this academic audience. Such contemporary vagaries, you may think, should hardly take so large a place in dignified Gifford lectures. I can only beseech you to have patience. The whole outcome of these lectures will, I imagine, be the emphasizing to your mind of the enormous diversities which the spiritual lives of different men exhibit. Their wants, their susceptibilities, and their capacities all vary and must be classed under different heads. The result is that we have really different types of religious experience, and seeking in these lectures closer acquaintance with the healthy-minded type, we must take it where we find it in most radical form. The psychology of individual types of character has hardly begun even to be sketched as yet. Our lectures may possibly serve as a crumb-like contribution to the structure. The first thing to bear in mind, especially if we ourselves belong to the clerico-academic scientific type, the officially and conventionally correct type, the deadly receptacle type, for which to ignore others is a besetting temptation, is that nothing can be more stupid than to bar out phenomena from our notice, merely because we are incapable of taking part in anything like them ourselves. Now, the history of Lutheran salvation by faith, of Methodistic conversions, and of what I call the mind-cure movement, seems to prove the existence of numerous persons in whom, at any rate at a certain stage in their development, a change of character for the better, so far from being facilitated by the rules laid down by official moralists, will take place all the more successfully if those rules be exactly reversed. Official moralists advise us never to relax our strenuousness. Be vigilant day and night, they adjure us. Quote, hold your passive tendencies in check, shrink from no effort, keep your will like a bow always bent. Close quote. But the persons I speak of find that all this conscious effort leads to nothing but failure and vexation in their hands, and only makes them twofold more the children of hell they were before. The tense and voluntary attitude becomes in them an impossible fever and torment. Their machinery refuses to run at all when the bearings are made so hot and the belts so tight. Under these circumstances, the way to success, as vouched for by innumerable authentic personal narrations, is by an anti-moralistic method, by the surrender of which I spoke in my second lecture. Passivity, not activity, relaxation, not intentness, should be now the rule. Give up the feeling of responsibility, let go your hold, resign the care of your destiny to higher powers, be genuinely indifferent as to what becomes of it all, and you will find not only that you gain a perfect inward relief, but often also in addition the particular goods you sincerely thought you were renouncing. This is the salvation through self-despair, the dying to be truly born of Lutheran theology, the passage into nothing of which Jacob Behmen writes. To get to it, a critical point must usually be passed, a corner turned within one. Something must give way, a native hardness must break down and liquefy, and this event, as we shall abundantly see hereafter, is frequently sudden and automatic, and leaves on the subject an impression that he has been wrought upon by an external power. Whatever its ultimate significance may prove to be, this is certainly one fundamental form of human experience. Some say that the capacity or incapacity for it is what divides the religious from the merely moralistic character. With those who undergo it in its fullness, no criticism avails to cast doubt on its reality. They know, for they have actually felt the higher powers in giving up the tension of their personal will. A story which revivalist preachers often tell is that of a man who found himself at night slipping down the side of a precipice. At last he caught a branch which stopped his fall, and remained clinging to it in misery for hours. But finally his fingers had to loose their hold, and with a despairing farewell to life he let himself drop. He fell just 6 inches. If he had given up the struggle earlier, his agony would have been spared. As the Mother Earth received him, so, the preachers tell us, will the everlasting arms receive us if we confide absolutely in them, and give up the hereditary habit of relying on our personal strength, with its precautions that cannot shelter and safeguards that never save. The mind-curers have given the widest scope to this sort of experience. They have demonstrated that a form of regeneration by relaxation, by letting go, psychologically indistinguishable from the Lutheran justification by faith and the Wesleyan acceptance of free grace, is within the reach of persons who have no conviction of sin and care nothing for the Lutheran theology. It is but giving your little private convulsive self a rest, and finding that a greater self is there. The results, slow or sudden, or great or small, of the combined optimism and expectancy, the regenerative phenomena which ensue on the abandonment of effort, remain firm facts of human nature, no matter whether we adopt a theistic, a pantheistic idealistic, or a medical materialistic view of their ultimate causal explanation. Footnote: the theistic explanation is by divine grace, which creates a new nature within one the moment the old nature is sincerely given up. The pantheistic explanation, which is that of most mind-curers, is by the merging of the narrower private self into the wider or greater self. The spirit of the universe, which is your own subconscious self, the moment the isolating barriers of mistrust and anxiety are removed. The medico-materialistic explanation is that simpler cerebral processes act more freely where they are left to act automatically by the shunting out of psychologically, though in this instance not spiritually, higher ones which, seeking to regulate, only succeed in inhibiting results. Whether this third explanation might, in a psychophysical account of the universe, be combined with either of the others may be left an open question here. End footnote. When we take up the phenomena of revivalistic conversion, we shall learn something more about all this. Meanwhile, I will say a brief word about the mind-curer's methods. They are, of course, largely suggestive. The suggestive influence of environment plays an enormous part in all spiritual education. But the word suggestion, having acquired official status, is unfortunately already beginning to play, in many quarters, the part of a wet blanket upon investigation, being used to fend off all inquiry into the varying susceptibilities of individual cases. Suggestion is only another name for the power of ideas, so far as they prove efficacious over belief and conduct. Ideas efficacious over some people prove inefficacious over others. Ideas efficacious at some times and in some human surroundings are not so at other times and elsewhere. The ideas of Christian churches are not efficacious in the therapeutic direction today, whatever they may have been in earlier centuries. But when the whole question is as to why the salt has lost